my dear students, and welcome to your favorite educational YouTube channel English वाली मैम. So आज हमारी OTT series by day 54 know how to get the perfect score का episode 23 है, and in today's episode we are going to be studying the chapter from our main reader. The name of the chapter is From the Diary of Anne Frank. And before we start with the revision of the chapter, I want to remind you that very soon ma'am is going to come up with a video on examiner's secrets, and second episode, rather one of the other coming episodes, is what will be or what should be your roadmap or the or the manner in which you can get the perfect score, one of the parts of the plan that we have devised so that you get the perfect score. Alright, so now let us start with the revision of the chapter, and I hope all of you have your textbook, which is your main reader first flight, handy. Okay, because मैम हमेशा बोलती है कि आप जब भी चैप्टर के रिविजन के लिए रिगार्डिंग जो वीडियो देखते हो, मैम का इंग्लिश वाली मैम जो वीडियो बनाती हैं आपके लिए, उस वीडियो को देखते टाइम यू मस्ट हैव योर टेक्स्ट बुक हैंडी. बिकॉज जो बच्चे मैम के वीडियोस रेगुलरली देखते हैं, जिन्होंने सब्सक्राइब किया हुआ है, दे ऑलरेडी नो दैट आई रीड टेक्स्ट फ्रॉम दी chapter itself, and then we have a discussion on it. Okay, so Anne Frank, as we all know, was a girl who belonged to the Jewish community in Germany. And we know that this girl, because she belonged to the Jewish community, she and her family and many like her who were Jews, they were subjected to harsh conditions. They were put into concentration camps. What were these concentration camps? These were the kind of camps which the then ruler of Germany, Adolf Hitler, had specifically made. He specifically got those concentration camps built, wherein the Jewish community people were brought in numbers, in hundreds and thousands, and they were made to die. How? They were either put in gas chambers, they were made to starve for several days, or many of them were even burned alive. So this girl, Anne Frank, she was also, she and her family were also taken to one of the concentration camps, and in her diary, in addition to whatever she had written, she had also explained what exactly it was like staying in the or living in the concentration camp. However, in this chapter we are not going to talk about anything regarding the concentration camps. In this particular chapter we are going to talk about a particular episode that Anne has narrated. But before that, we study what were Anne Frank's views on writing a diary. So, all of us, because we've read the chapter thoroughly, we know that Anne Frank called her diary as Kitty. She had named her diary as Kitty, and that was like a personification that she had done. So Anne, because she felt that she could not or she did not really have so many friends, and on top of that she always felt that she could never ever confide to her family, into her family. That's why she started writing a diary, which I've already told you she named it as Kitty. And when talking about writing a diary, she has some own views about it. So the first thing, which is on page number 50. So she says that writing a diary is a very strange thing for me, particularly a person like me who has hardly written anything before. And then she also goes on to say that I wonder why someone would be interested in the life of a 13-year-old girl. In fact, she says, I don't think so even I would be interested in knowing about what is going in the life of a 13-year-old girl. Then there's something very interesting that she says about a diary, or writing something. When one writes his or her views or thoughts, emotions, when one pens all these. So she says that paper seems to have more patience than people. So here what is she doing? She's in a way questioning the entire human race. How is she questioning it? So it's basically, or she's trying to maybe taunt everyone around, because she's trying to say that whenever I can express my deepest thoughts, my deepest emotions on a paper, and a paper would never come up to me and say that, oh, I'm tired of listening to you. Also, paper would is not something, this writing that we do, the paper on which we write is not judgmental like the other people in the society. So that's a deeper meaning to this line when she says paper has more patience than people. Okay. And then she on page number 50, the second paragraph, she also says that paper does have more patience, and since I'm not planning to let anyone else read this stiff-backed notebook grandly referred to as diary, unless I should ever find a real friend, it probably won't make a bit of difference. So she also talks about human relations when she says paper has more patience than people. Alright, and then of course, in the further paragraph, she writes that she's more comfortable confiding herself into a diary. Then she talks about her parents, her father, her mother, her grandmother, that how on one of her birthdays she could not celebrate the birthday because the grandmother, the party was not that big because her grandmother was ill. Then the next year her grandmother passed away, and then she also talks about her sister. Okay, so that's about her family. The next thing that we study in this chapter is the episode at school. So she talks about her day. So she has written this in the diary, and that's why it begins with Dear Kitty. So she talks about that her entire class is quacking in boots. That is, all of them were extremely nervous. The entire class was very nervous, very anxious as well. Why? Because the test results were to come any moment, and the test results would have decided that which student will be passed and promoted to the next grade. So there was a lot of commotion in the class. In fact, students had even started playing bets about it, that you're going to pass or you are not going to pass. And then she talks about two of her classmates. She says that Cien and Jax, who have staked their entire holiday savings on their bet. From morning to night, you are going to pass. Pleading glances and my angry outburst can't calm them down. So she says, if you ask me, there are so many dummies that about a quarter of the class should be kept back, but teachers are the most unpredictable creatures on earth. Okay. Then Anne has a particular concern regarding the result. What is her concern? She says that I'm not really worried about all the other subjects, but the only subject that I'm bothered or I'm kind of dicey about is my mathematics subject. Why? Because she did not share a very cordial relation with her maths teacher, Mr. Keesing. Okay, and then she also talks about how regarding her relation with her maths teacher. So what was the concern? It was that Anne was highly talkative. She was a kind of girl who would hardly remain quiet in the class, and this really annoyed her mathematics teacher, Mr. Keesing. So in one of these sessions, what happens is, so if you come to page number 52, the third passage. So she says, I get along pretty well with all my teachers. There are 9 of them, 7 men and 2 women. And she says, Mr. Keesing, the old Fauji who teaches maths, was annoyed with me for ages because I talked so much. So, and she says then after several warnings, so her habit in the class is that she is very talkative. So she gets a punishment. What is it? That her mathematics teacher gives her an extra homework. That is to write an essay on the topic, a chatterbox. And she so in the evening when she returns home and she's done with all the other homework, so she suddenly is reminded that she has this essay to write. Now while she's writing the essay now and being extremely creative, she thinks that I can write a long essay. I can make an essay look very long also by putting huge gaps between the words in the essay. But she says that's not my style. So she says instead the essay that I write on the topic a chatterbox, it should be such that it justifies my talking in the class. So she says I want a convincing argument as to why I talk so much in the class. Now very interestingly, she comes up with 2 arguments. First, she says that this is a student's trait. Second, she says that this habit of talking continuously is something which I have inherited from my mother. So she says I can't help it out. It's hereditary. So when Mr. Keesing and the other classmates, they listen to this argument, of course they laugh about it, but somewhere Mr. Keesing feels that annoyance that oh my god, this girl is trying to justify this habit. So she gets another punishment, which is to again write an essay on the topic, an incorrigible chatterbox. So what is the meaning of incorrigible? Someone who cannot be improved upon, जिसको सुधारा नहीं जा सकता. Okay, so Mr. Keesing says that you write an essay on this topic, an incorrigible chatterbox, and then had nothing to complain for about 2 whole lessons. Alright, and however during the 3rd lesson, so now again, and she did not improve upon herself because she was again incorrigible in this regard. So finally the next punishment she gets is in one of the classes again, Mr. Keesing is very annoyed. So he says, and now you're going to write an essay on the topic quack quack quack. Okay, so now the entire class starts laughing. Now and again creative in a very different manner, she thinks I've already written 2 essays and somewhere I'm exhausted with my word limit or with my vocabulary. So she decides that I'm going to take help from one of my friends, and I'm going to write a poem on the topic quack quack quack. So the friend she seeks help from is San. Okay, and then what she does is she writes the poem, and in the poem, so let's find out what the poem was about. So page number 53, last paragraph. So it says, I finished my poem and it was beautiful. It was about a mother duck and a father swan who had 3 baby ducklings, and these were bitten to death by the father because they quacked too much. And then she says, luckily Mr. Keesing, he took the joke in a right way. That is, so she was trying to basically tell Mr. Keesing that you are like that father swan. Okay. So that's about this chapter, and time to turn the board because we have the character sketch ready with us. Anne Frank and Mr. Keesing. So Anne, we know, is very creative, of course. She's mischievous at the same time. Of course, she's very talkative. She has exceptional writing skills, and I would say that she's also very friendly because she is able to have that social behavior in the class. Talking about Mr. Keesing, I think he was a kind of a perfect teacher. How? Because he knew when to scold the children and when to appreciate or acknowledge the talent a student possesses. Okay, so I hope all of you have understood this chapter. I want all of you to like, share and subscribe to our channel if you have not done that. If you've done that, very good, but do share these videos with your friends, because जब सब फ्रेंड्स के अच्छे मार्क्स आएंगे और सब एक साथ पार्टी करते हैं फ्रेंड्स, तो उसका मज़ा कुछ और ही होता है. Till then,